I've been thinking about thinking. I know the old adage is true. My brain hurts. I've been doing a bit of thinking. But no, honestly, I think that our thoughts are powerful. Our thoughts are the things that motivate us. Our thoughts are the things that get us out of bed in the morning. And our thoughts are what sets the goals for our life and gives us the achievements that we want. However, I do think that our thoughts have been captured and that they haven't been our own for pretty much most of our lives, because so many of our thoughts have been guided and moulded by people and organisations outside of us. And I think a lot of our thoughts have been manipulated so that we think in a certain way. Now, you see that very clearly when you watch the television and the adverts come on and they tell you about the desired lifestyle that you really ought to have. You know, that new fashionable kitchen, or that big important powerful car, or that sort of dress sense that you've got to have, or this particular cream, or whatever it is. And of course, advertisers are very much clever at effectively hypnotizing us to make us want to desire the products, the nice shiny products that they're selling to us all the time. And so that's a form of manipulation. But I think it's much more worse than that, and it's more nefarious. I believe that the government, who at one time I used to say was kind and benevolent and had our best interests at heart, and I've changed my mind about that somewhat, what with all the different things they're pushing, the digital IDs, the central bank digital currency, the stupid policy of net zero, following one science in which they say that the world is warming up thanks to man-made global warming, and that we're all going to perish unless we actually starve ourselves to death of that gas of life, CO2. Yes, I've changed my mind and I've thought critically about the government's message. And the other people, of course, who've been doing it is the mainstream media. They've been manipulating how we think about certain things. And I don't watch mainstream media anymore. I don't listen to the radio anymore. And I make up my own mind about things. And I think, is that really true? Is that really possible? And I start to have a critical mode of thinking. But I'm open to say that all the way through my life, I could have that sense that the mainstream media and the way things were put over were conditioning what I thought about the world. And now, as I start to investigate the world, I realise that there are lots of technologies that have been suppressed, certain things that would improve our lives, but not necessarily improve the, would you say, the money of certain companies. I mean, take health, for example. We know that the human body's own immune system is far better than any pharmaceutical product. Yet we went through a process only a couple of years ago in which a virus was supposedly virulent everywhere and causing a terrible thing. And we were told that there was only one solution to that, that the various medical remedies that were on the shelf that had been tested, that they were no good, even though, funnily enough, they're now being used and being told they are actually good. We were told that, no, by all accounts, don't take those drugs. We have to wait for this one super duper mega drug that is going to change our lives. And by golly, did it change our lives, and not necessarily for the good. This medical intervention that we were all told that we had to have, and in countries it was mandated, and if you didn't take it, you were made to feel that you were an outcast or in some way a murderer, causing problems to all these other people because you didn't take this one thing. Our minds were very much manipulated in that way by governments and mainstream media and those celebrities who had no medical information or training whatsoever, and yet somehow the vast majority of the people would go, oh blimey, yes. So our thoughts, and that's the key, our thoughts, not other people's thoughts, not mainstream media's thoughts, not the government's thoughts. Our thoughts are very important, and we need to guard that we're not being hypnotized, manipulated in these thoughts. The other thing is we're very easily distracted from our thoughts and what we believe in, whether you have your own personal God or you follow a particular religion or you have your own moral code. Our thoughts are continually being challenged by these other mainstream media, government officials telling us how the world is. And yet, in this more enlightened times, I think we're all beginning to see through that fog and realise that that's not part of it. And yet, they still try to distract us and make us frightened. There was a story in the news, I gather, I haven't seen it, I've not followed it, about a submarine somewhere that I understand has either gone missing or has imploded. Now, I don't know much about that. One of my viewers told me, said something about whilst everyone's looking for the sub, what else is going on? And I thought, I don't know what you're talking about. What sub? And I thought perhaps they were talking about some Russian sub that had come up the Thames and was spying on us. But no, this is something else to do with a ship that sunk in 1912 that everybody thinks is something called the Titanic, when actually I believe that that's not even the name of the ship that actually sank, because it was swapped for more nefarious reasons. I don't want to go into that. But people get very easily distracted with a story that actually has no bearing on them and their lives and what they're doing, and is distracted from perhaps those things which are much more important. So what I'm trying to say in this monologue today is our thoughts and how we perceive the world are actually far more important, and what we do with those thoughts and how they influence us, than being bombarded by the fear thoughts and the idea that so much of this nasty stuff, this nefarious stuff, this stuff that's going to perhaps challenge us is coming. We need to keep focused on positive thoughts, thoughts on how we can look after ourselves, how we look after our family, and how we approach the future. And there's a big awakening as people are beginning to wake up and realize actually their own thoughts are so much more powerful and can keep them on the straight and narrow, rather than being distracted by all the thoughts that are coming in and trying to hoodwink us into a future that we really don't want.